Hello and welcome to Donna's Crafty Creations. I'm Donna and I have a Canvas Workspace project of the week for you. This week I'm going to show you how you can turn a raster image, such as this PNG image of the owl that we have here on the screen, into a cutting file that can then be cut out, pieced together, and create a delightful little thank you card. So, if you want to learn how easy this is to do, stick with me and I'll show you how. Offering the image as your own, but you're incorporating it into your own creation, or you're perhaps adding it to another montage, things like that. If you look here under Content License, there's some very clear language as to the things that you can do and not do, of course, with the images. And you'll see here even frequently asked questions, probably those kind of questions that you already have. As I said, it's free to use. You don't even have to acknowledge the creator, but it's always nice to if you want to. And you can always leave them a tip. So let's go back and we're going to look at these images. And as you can see, there are over 4 million of them in various formats. There's video, there's audio, photos, there are illustrations, and various other types of media. So I'm going to be looking in images today, and I want to look for an owl. Now, images does include photographs, but I can narrow that down, and I can say, well, I'd really just like to look at the vectors for now. So I'll scroll down here, and I actually see the owl that I want right now. It's this one here. But if I just show you, you have all these images that you are free to use. This is probably by the very same artist, just in a different color format. And some of these would be quite suitable. Even something like that. You could bring that into Canvas Workspace and create a cut file. You can sign up for free to use the site, or you can just go in each time and download it, but you normally will have to verify, first of all, that you're not a robot and that you're a real live human being that's downloading it each time you want to download. So it makes it a little quicker, a little easier if you get yourself an account and then you can just log in. But that is up to you, of course. So I'm just going to click on this little fella here. I'm already logged in, so I can go straight to download. And you'll see, too, that you can go right away, if you like, and go into Canva and edit this. There is a working relationship now between Pixabay, which is a German company, and Canva, where you can edit your images immediately in Canva through Pixabay. But we're going to go to download and bring in the image. You'll see there is an SVG file already available, but I'm going to choose a PNG, and I'm going to use the recommended one here, which is the 435 KB. So I'm going to download this, and it's going to send it to my folders that I have already assigned, and I already have this downloaded, so I don't need to do that again. But wherever you want to send it to, if it be your desktop or your download folder or your cutting file folders, whatever, you will just do that. So once it's downloaded, you can go right over to Canvas Workspace and we're going to import it. In Canvas Workspace, we're going to be using image tracing. It's this icon that you see right here that looks a bit like a spade. So just click on this rose here. You'll see the notes which tell us what our limitations are. It has to be less than 5 megabytes, which is well within the limits of our chosen image. But we also need to be aware that some images may not trace as well as others, and in fact some may not even cut as well as others because they might have very tiny little pieces or parts. So you just need to be aware of that. So when you're bringing in these images and tracing them, you'll kind of learn by experimentation what's going to work and what's not going to work. And also you need to be sure that the image that you're starting with is at least 300 pixels by 300 pixels in order for it to be traced. You can, of course, scan an image into your machine and then send it to the cloud, and you can grab that. Or, in our case here, we're going to be bringing one that's actually in the computer. So let's click on here and find our owl. And I believe he's under my Pixabay. There we are. I'll just scroll down to owl. It's this one here. So we'll open that. And as you can see, it's a very large image. However, we're going to be reducing that later, so that's not a problem. You'll also see that at the moment there's this aqua blue line around the image, and it's only tracing the outer edge at the moment. But we want details that are inside as well. If we only wanted the outer, that's fine. You could just select that. But if you want anything that's inside, you need to trace it by color. And you can actually go up to 20 colors in this image tracing. You can see there, it'll go all the way up to 20. And it's pretty much picked everything up here, more so than we need, because it's even divided the little feet up here. We don't need that. Let's just take it back down to 5, and that will probably be plenty for us. We'll preview this, and yes, we're getting really good outline with it. So this is actually a very good image to use for the image tracing. Getting nice, clean lines. They're not broken. And anything that we don't want, we can delete later. You'll also see that you can take the image that you see here on your screen and bring it into your Canvas Workspace area. So you can bring it onto the drawing area. If you don't want it, then just unclick that. But that is fine for my purposes. I'm going to show you then what you can do with that as well. So we're not going to include any background outline. There's nothing there that we would even need. So I'm just going to click on OK and bring that onto the workspace. So now we have our image, and as you see, it is all grouped as one. But if you look through here, you'll see you have the outline shape as well as all the other individual pieces and the image itself. So if I click off the visibility, you'll see the image will disappear from the screen. You can even delete that as well. But let's go ahead and get this to the size we want first. Make sure I go back and group that. I'm going to get that down to whatever size I'm going to be working with first. Want to be sure it's going to fit onto my card, but I don't want it too small. So I'm going to ungroup this, and as you'll see now, there are all these little bounding boxes all over. Even the pages are individual shapes. And as I said, you can see that here by going through your layers panel and see all those individual shapes. As I said, there is the image itself. So you can use this as your guide when you're deciding on colors that you want, how you're going to work with your design. You also have the outline, which is that shape I showed you to begin with. This makes a stencil, and I'm actually going to keep that and use it as the base for the paper piecing. But I'll also create an offset so that I can have that behind this stencil. The image itself, just grab that now, and I can pull that off to the side. And as I said, you can use that as a reference, and when you don't need it anymore, you can just simply delete it off of the screen. So I have this piece now, and I'll give that some fill. And we can see how all these little individual pieces are going to fit in there. But I also want to create an offset. I'm going to use an outward offset, not a huge one, but enough that I'll have a background for my owl. Now you don't have to use the outline here to paper piece into. You can just wing it, no pun intended, and put all the individual pieces onto this offset. But I'm going to take advantage of the outline piece that I have, because then I can cut that out in maybe in white or whatever color I want, and then piece all the other pieces in here, and it even makes it more three-dimensional. So if I give this some fill, you'll see this is our layer, our background layer for our owl. So that will be cut out as well as this. So let's go back now and look at all the individual pieces that we have available. We have the face here, and we have these little tufts, which I would probably keep all these the same color. I can change them later if I want to, of course. Now these are getting pretty small. I don't think I would even want that. I think I'll just delete that. I could keep this one. It's also rather small. Look at the size of that. It's not particularly large, but I could duplicate that. I'm just going to flip it around. And that I could then piece into this area here. So if I just change the color of that, you can see that a little better. So those little pieces would fit in there. We've got these wings, of course. They're going to fit like so. And I can make them maybe a dark brown or a darker brown. And then I've got these side pieces here, which I can pull in, and you can start to see that we're beginning to create a paper pieced owl. And of course you'll be doing this by hand, so you'll be able to place it exactly where you want it. Might change that back there. And then I can use this as my guide when I'm setting up my file to send it to the machine to be cut, so that I have light colors together. Remember, when you send a cutting file, there will be no color. It's only when you're in this working space part of Canvas Workspace that it will retain the color for you, because you're just using it as a tool. It does not affect the cutting whatsoever. So we can see other pieces we've got here. This is for the book. We've got the bottom piece here, which is fine. I would bring that down into this area here. I might just make that be like that. And then, of course, as I said, we can bring these pieces in. We can make them whatever color we like. Now, for the pages themselves, as I said, these are all individual shapes, and it's not worth trying to overlap these and weld them together. So I would simply create a new shape, a rectangle, and use that as my replacement for this piece right here. Use that as your guide as to how large it needs to be, because you're going to, of course, have this other piece that's going to go over top of it. So now you have a new piece for the pages, and I might look for some pattern paper that maybe would represent more pages rather than just a solid piece, or I could even color that in or put some stripes in with maybe a black pen, whatever you like. We've also got the eyes, and as you can see here, we've got the face part, and I'm just going to make that black. If I cut this out in white, then that's going to give me two circles, which would be the perfect size going behind this eye, because it's got the little circle cut out. That's what these are here. And rather than try to cut these out and then try to piece them in, I'll just have a solid circle behind each of these eyes, and we won't even need to draw a new circle. If you want to cut this out in a different color than white, then of course you can just use the size, whatever you have here. Like this is 0.37. I would probably make mine maybe 0.35. Cut out a couple little circles in white and then place it behind. As I said, these are pretty useless. We have this little bookmark though that we can still have and piece in, but these I'll eliminate, so I will get rid of all those. We've also got these tiny little pieces here, which are where the book is. We can get rid of those. We don't need to take those and cut them at all. I'm also going to just go ahead and group all the claws here, or toes, whatever you want to call them. For the moment, I'm going to group them just so I can move them down onto this outline. I can see how they're going to fit onto here. I bring them to the front. I can see how they will just fit right into here. Now, if you send this to your machine still grouped, you need to keep in mind that you won't be able to ungroup it once you have sent it to the machine to be cut. So if you don't want to have these still grouped, like perhaps you'd want this in one shade of orange and this in a different shade of orange, you want to be sure they're separate so that you can cut them individually, then be sure that you ungroup this before you send it to your machine or save it as a cutting file. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, we've also got a little beak here. That's going to go right in here. Got the other eyeball, of course. And we have this tuft bit here, which is this white bit here. But you can see they had a shadow here. So that caused that to be split in two. But we want that all as one piece. Easy enough to do though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down here to where it's going to eventually go. And I'm going to give it some fill so that I can see it a little better. And so I'll take this one in a different shade so that I can take a look. And I'm going to move that to where I think that will fit, and this one as well. And I believe it's overlapped enough that now I can select both of those shapes and weld them together. And it has, it's done that. So there we have a solid piece where once we had a piece that was split in two. You could still cut it out as two because maybe you want to do the shading as well. If that's what your preference is, then leave it as it was originally. But let's go back out and see what we have left here. I think that's pretty much everything. I will arrange all these how I want my mats set up so that I can have this cut out in one color, this cut out in another, and I might, all the white pieces, for example, I would group those all sort of in the same area so that they're together, the black, blues, oranges, whatever I like. And everything will be then ready to send to my machine. And I can now, of course, delete anything that I don't need, and the rest is all ready to be organized and sent to the machine. We'll export it or transfer it, whichever you want to do. So if I want to put this on a USB and take that to the machine, cut it out, I can do that, or I could transfer it as it is via the cloud since I have a wireless machine. If you don't have a wireless machine, and you then need to either export it as an FCM to somewhere on your computer or on an external USB stick, or you can use the cable if you have that capability. So now I'm going to get this all ready, send it to my machine, cut it out, and then I'll have you join me while I piece everything together. So stick with me and I'll show you how. All the pieces are being cut out now, and as you can see, you have your outline or stencil piece, and you can see how very thin that is, but it's perfect for mounting on this black cardstock, which has the outline of the owl.
And you'll see also that you're left with all these little tiny, and I mean tiny, I don't know if you can see that, but just that's one of the pieces that's actually cut out. Now you could use this if you were going to make perhaps a second owl, or even just parts of it in another project, or simply just put it in the bin. I've already gone ahead and made my card blank. This is a 5x5, so I just took a piece of A4 card, cut it to 5x10, scored it down the middle, and then folded and burnished it. I then put a mat behind, a black mat, which is cut at 4 3/4, and the center of it is actually cut out. What I did is put it on my scan and cut and made a frame. So I took a 4.75 square, then put a smaller square inside of it, cut them out together, lined them up and cut them out together, and then that saves me on my cardstock, so I can use that other piece for something else, and also cuts down on the weight of the card as well. I then mounted this background piece, which is mostly going to be covered, but it was something I had. It was a print that was at the end of my ink cartridge life, and so it's got a few little streaks through it, but it was perfect for this project. So most of that's going to be covered up, as I said. What I'm going to do is to glue this now onto this piece so that I can bring in all my little pieces that I have in this envelope and start the paper piecing. So I'll get on with that now, and we'll see where it takes us. There's all the pieces now in place, and as you might have noticed, I did a little bit of a ink around the eyes here where that white was still protruding a bit, so just used a black alcohol marker to edge around there. And I also put these little wings here on some foam pads just to give it a little more dimension. So now I'm ready to put it onto the front of my card, and I can either glue this down flat, or again I could bring it up on some foam squares, but I think I'm just going to put it down flat, and then when I put my sentiment on, I can actually put that on some foam squares and give that some added dimension that way. So I'm just going to place this like that. I'm going to use my little scrap piece here to help get my glue all spread out. And you'll notice too, I took that rectangle and poked it underneath this here just to keep that in line with what we had there originally, with all those individual lines. So there we have that. I've got a piece that is going to provide our sentiment here. I think I might I'll probably have it just come around like that. I cut this out on just a basic shape from the scan and cut machine. So I'll get my sentiment and we'll be finished. I've had a change of mind about the sentiment. What I'm going to do instead is use this thank you. And I'm going to place it here instead of this scallop. I just think that's perhaps just a little big for this. So what I'll do for this is also use some little foam squares, or rectangles in this case. Put a couple of those on here. Take the backing off. I'm just going to get it where I want it, and then I'll press it into place. So, probably about like, do I want it at a jaunty angle, or do I just want it straight on? I think we're going to go straight on for this one. And then I also have these little pearls here. They're little sticky back, flat pearls. And I'm going to put those in the corners. I think I'll use this yellow instead. I'm just placing those in the corners there. We can have a couple down here as well. It's fine. Might come up with that one, just adjust that. There we are. Okay. And there is our completed pieced owl card, which started out as a PNG in Pixabay, and now is a lovely three-dimensional cutout card. So I do hope you enjoyed this and that you're going to give image tracing a try, see what you can come up with. And I do recommend Pixabay for so many different images, but of course you can search through whatever you have and on the internet, and especially if you're using it for personal reasons, then you don't have to be really concerned about the copyright laws and licensing. So, but this was a lovely project for me to do. I did enjoy it very much, and I hope I taught you a few things along the way. If you aren't already subscribed to my channel, I would invite you to do so today. Please be sure that you hit the notification bell so that you'll know the next time I upload another video. Until then, please take care and bye for now. Bye.